So, Chris Townsend.
Oh, Base Jedi.
Who is a Hall of Famer, isn't he?
Yeah.
Does it feel like the circuit's changed as you were returning? Have you noticed many comedians fall by the wayside because of this? Where is the industry at the moment? This is another thing I love about the people that on Patreon. They're really tuned into like what's going on with comedy as well. They're comedy fans. But I read that, I was like, that's a really tuned in question.
I think there's some comedians who shouldn't come back.
And the list is... here's a pen.
I just think there's quite a few who've had their day and were struggling anyway and just need to get a fucking job now.
Yeah, but they probably are. The state of it is, comedy is in a massive flux, which is frustrating because pubs are allowed to open. My mate was at a pub with a fucking quiz in the corner. There was a bloke with a microphone talking over the PA to people all facing him in a pub. Give me a fucking break. Open comedy clubs. Maybe you don't have to open the Grand Theatre.
I'm doing a gig in Manchester on Sunday. I don't know whether it's indoors or outdoors. I just know it's at Bar 51 in the Northern Quarter?
Right.
Let me just double check this.
It'll be outdoors.
I don't think it is. I think it's indoors.
Okay, is that something?
Bar 21 downstairs. That can't be outdoors. Downstairs at Bar 21, the Northern Quarter. It's called the Comedy Vault. It's this Sunday. It's free entry at 8 o'clock. Very, very limited seating available. But if anyone's in Manchester that wants to see me do stand-up, and a good friend of the pod, Rob Mulholland's doing 10 as well.
This is going out on Monday, though, so...
Oh, yeah, shit. I did a gig yesterday.
How was that gig yesterday downstairs?
Oh, I imagine it was okay.
You smashed it, I heard.
At least now we can't get the gig shut down.
Fucking hilarious. That was so funny.
But yeah, I feel like there's going to be comedians who've got a job and realise that their life is more comfortable in lockdown. There's going to be comedians who can't have had savings, because even really successful comedians have struggled, because we struggle to, like, anyone who's a top circuit comic doesn't have an abundance of money. You're sort of living month to month on your wages as a top comic still. It's not like we've got thousands in the bank at all. If I didn't have this podcast, I'd have had to go to get a proper job in lockdown.
This podcast has stopped us delivering for fucking Hermes. Exactly.
And there's defo comedians who've now gone and worked in Sainsbury's or a call centre or something, and they've realised that they've got a comfortable wage coming in. They're not worrying where the next gig's coming from, and they might just go, do you know what, I'll do a couple of gigs every now and then, but I don't need it anymore. And I tell you what, the comedy circuit will be better for it. I'm not telling anyone specifically what to do with their lives or careers. I would never do that. If you feel the need to carry on just being a comedian and just want to do comedy, absolutely fine. I'm having a go at no one personally. But
there's a bit of dead wood.
There's a bit of dead wood. And also, there are a lot more comedians than there are gigs. We could do an experiment. I could post on social media now and go, I need a comedian for 150 quid next week. For one gig, I'll get 100 emails.
Yeah,
which is insane. That ratio is just bananas, isn't it?
And how many of them would you want to pay £150 to do
Probably
comedy?
None of them. I'll have to go and find that guy myself. The ones you want don't even reply to the social media posts.
Do you know, one of the problems with the circuit is it's going to be fine. Long term, post-Rona, vaccine, all of this. It will be fine, the circuit. But the amount of time till it's fine is in question. Like, we thought we were opening up. We're not. We think maybe we're opening up in a couple of weeks. We might not. So the people who've gone and got other jobs, it's not like there is a set date of November 1st, all your gigs come back, all your income's back, all that audience just piles back into comedy venues. The circuit is going to be up and running. It's going to be a slow process of restrictions easing, the virus lessening, the vaccine being found, and then also customer confidence, licensed premises still having the license and still wanting to trade. Everything is going to happen gradually. And in that time, if you've gone and got yourself a job, do you go, just going to keep doing the job?
Yeah, I think a lot will. I think a lot will certainly go part-time comedy. They'll keep their job and they'll be like, oh, comedy's just something I do on the side.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing, because you get like less comedians applying for gigs. I think there's a lot of stand-ups who could do to have a part-time job even before all this happened, because comedy is an amazing career to have. It's an amazing job. It's unbelievable to perform and get paid for it. It's an absolute privilege. But it's also, there's really hard parts of comedy, especially when the work dries up, or if you haven't quite made it to be a full-time professional where you're earning, you need 500 quid a week as an adult. Like, especially, and that's like before you take your petrol and all that off. I'm saying, most people can't live on like less than a few hundred quid a week. And there's got to be comedians who are really struggling to get by, who are earning below the minimum wage just to get by, because it's their dream to be a comedian. And that's got to be so hard. And I think there's quite a few who could do with just getting a part-time job and taking a bit of fucking pressure off themselves. Like, being restricted and being under pressure constantly is an enemy of creativity. You'll become a better comedian if you've got time to create and become the comic you want to be, rather than the comic you need to be to pay the wages.
I see the reasoning there, but I mean, I've had a mate who's started stand-up a little bit older, turned professional. One of their big things was like, even though it's going to be a huge cut in my income, because he was basically earning a full-time wage from stand-up and the job he had previously, but he was so hammered on time. And he was gigging with guys like you and me who've like been podcasting 2 or 3 times a week, tuning in, getting a following, thinking about comedy, messing around. Even though we ad-lib all of this, there's still some gems that come out where you go, that's a thought there for stand-up. We're basically training that muscle for comedy. And then we're going home and mulling a bit around, and then fuck it, I'll go out on a Tuesday and Wednesday night and try something out. And he's turning up to a gig tired. He's got a family.
Yeah,
It's.
Are we talking about Nottingham?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he had a full-time, high-pressure job. I'm talking about someone taking 8 hours a week, working in a gym or a bar or a cafe, and just having enough to pay your rent coming.
Yeah. Do you know? I think what might change after this, just in terms of comedians working on the circuit, there might be less of a stigma about having another job.
I've always fucking hated that, comedians who sneer. I had fucking murder on social media a few years ago because there was a forum set up to advertise gigs in. And people were like, oh, you can only come in if you're a full-time comedian and this is your only source of income, because we want to make sure that the quality of the comedians available in this group is just people who are dead good. And it's like, well, just having comedy as your income is not the barometer of that. The barometer should be what clubs are you playing? Because there was a comic, a mate of ours, who at the time was still a postman. And they were like, he can't come in. I was like, he's better than half the people in the fucking group. He plays the big clubs more than half the people in the fucking group. And just because he wants to save to buy himself a fucking house, and he's happy to get up at 6 o'clock every morning and do a fucking full postie round before he then writes and then does gigs and writes more jokes than half the people in this group have written in the past 5 years, you're telling him he can't apply for gigs that you're telling yourself you can apply for? Fucking bullshit. I've always hated that sneering, oh, you've got a part-time job, so you're not a proper comedian. It's absolute nonsense. Because we don't say that once you get to the point where you've written a sitcom, are we telling everyone Lee Mackey's not a professional comedian because he's a writer as well?
Yeah. John Bishop, 85 grand a year from ICI. He wasn't a full-time comedian. No. That's the thing that people hear, especially within comedy. They hear the word professional and they go, well, you're not a professional comic. Professional comic doesn't mean you earn your living from comedy. It means you get paid comedy gigs. That's a professional gig.
Can you hang on a bill with other professional comics?
Yeah, you can do 18 jobs. You can be a gigolo, a porn star, a DPD driver, a fucking Radio 2 DJ. If you get paid 200 quid on a Friday in Birmingham at the Glee, you're a professional comedian. People...
Fucking busy week, that though, innit?
Yeah, bit of a nightmare. Gigolo's a real motherfucker. Replacing Ken Bruce and sucking... Never mind. But... I just think that's something comedians have always got a bit wrong. Like, they're like, oh, you're not a professional because you've got another job. That guy who had a post round went on a year later to get an Edinburgh Festival newcomer nomination. So
best newcomer nomination, got his own special on the BBC, and has since done Mock the Week.
Yeah, but he's a bit of a nonce, isn't he?
Yes.
Hi, Chris. You're all right. Chris Washington, ladies and gents.
Proper prick. Owes me 80 quid.
I'm a posty nonce.
I'm going to start every time I mention...
Why does he owe you 80 quid from Gigolo?
Fucking refund. Never turned up. I just
headbutted the mic stand. Right, it's really what... God, we got really...
angry for the last 5 minutes.
I love it. So comedy's fine. Why I keep saying it?
Comedy's fine, and
Yeah,
you're
it's
all
fine.
fucking wrong about it.
It's fine. He's doing gigs in the future and the past.